what does Twilight Sparkle have to do with Baltimore? I just said it. I didn't even talk direct. I just said it out loud, directed at the guy's back. But I like, and then they turned around, looked at, and they're taller than me, so they looked down and they're just like confused. They looked at me for a second, had to register if I was friend or foe, and then went, "Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, where a podcast about video games, anime, entertainment, life, a little bit of everything in between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me is our podcast number one fanfic author, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, there's yeah, like people think people think that My Little Pony fan fiction is, you know, easy and that it's for like noobs and stuff, but I'm here to tell you that it's extremely difficult. There's like a lot of gatekeeping that goes on. The hierarchy system is pretty wild. Somebody should make a video game of it, but like there's a lot of but the community is horrible, but there's also a lot of good people in it. It's pretty crazy. So yeah, fanfic. It's if you're going to start with fan fiction, I definitely wouldn't start with My Little Pony. I would definitely go to like I don't know Twilight. That's pretty much everybody else. I mean, Twilight basically was fan fiction, right? No, that's 50 Shades of Grey was fan fiction of Twilight. So go to like Twilight fan fiction. It's probably the easiest place to start. But yeah, anyway, how are you, Joe?
I'm doing all right. I mean, I'm glad we got that out there. You put the bro and brony, or brocon, a lot of the bronados and all that's So all right. Well, we got a big one for the news today. So we're just going to get straight into the news because that's kind of important. So we're going to start off with this Valve stuff, right?
Yes. So I guess we'll go to the so Valve. So let's lay this. Let's set the stage slightly for anybody that's been living under a rock. So the little 6 minute video dropped on YouTube and everywhere, and the beginning of it, it's Valve talking about in a very nice presentation talking about the Steam Deck and kind of saying this is kind of where this is at right now. And it's like, well, okay, what's okay? And then it moves on to the next thing, which is the Steam controller. So I think so. That's the only name that I've seen for this so far. So this is an update to the old controller, and basically it's a so I'm trying to remember everything about the old controller, but basically it's a little the form factor is a little bit different. It looks like it's a little bit bigger, and then it's got two trackpads underneath the sticks, and then it also has buttons on the underside, like two buttons where your ring finger and pinky finger can kind of go. And I think that's what I can remember about it. Anything else that you've got on that?
Yeah, so all right, so the old model of Steam controller, which was 2015, I believe, that one, instead of having two major joysticks in the front, it had two giant touch pads up on top, and then below that, it had a left thumbstick and a four button prompt. So that it was very questionable. You had a lot of people who really rallied behind it, but a lot of and like you could play, like an RTS a lot easier and stuff like that. Uh, but there was also, just because it was so different, you had a lot of people pushing back against it. So as far as the new Steam controller, it has one of the other the big change is it has the TMR thumbsticks. For those who don't know, TMR is uh, I forget what it translates to. But it's different from a Hall effect thumbstick. It uses the magnets. It's allegedly supposed to never drift
Yeah.
because it's supposed to be situated better. So it has much better thumbsticks, and that instantly makes a lot of people happy. It's going to have what they call high definition rumble. Uh, it has and what it'll do is it also has a charging puck that comes along to it. So it's
Mm,
essentially a you can plug the USB into this puck and use it as a kind of a slap dock for it. Uh, those are the major things about it. Yeah, it is kind of supposed to be coming. I believe it has a it's a standard 2.4 wireless connection. I'm not sure if this one comes with a USB. Uh, I don't think it comes with a dongle on this, but it is supposed to be Bluetooth capable. Uh, 4.2 minimum to up to 5.0 is what you'll need for your recommendations. So it can work with an older Bluetooth setup. Uh, yeah, I mean it's more or less an updated controller. Uh, Once again, the form factor is what I'm really curious about. I think maybe the touchpads. I think the touchpads will work when you have to work, but to use them often, I feel like it might be too far down. So I think it might not be comfortable enough when you're trying to mess with it. But who knows? I mean, Steam usually gets things pretty right, and despite it's weird, as a lot of people thought the original controller was, once you got used to it, the fan base really did cling on to it. And I believe there's 2 buttons, yeah, for your middle finger, index finger. So there's 2 buttons on each side of the underside of the controller,
mhm.
uh,
It's like your
which is the
ring and
equivalent.
your, it would be like your middle and ring
Yeah,
or
I'm sorry, middle finger, and then it's supposed to have, like, an extra back grip,
yeah.
which you kinda need an extra back grip, especially if you're gonna slide the controller, you're holding it towards the bottom in order to use the touchpads more comfortably. Uh, yeah, it was kind of a surprise that they brought back the controller, um, but I guess they wanted a new controller to more or less go with, the big reveal, which is the new Steam machine. Uh, People may remember this, floating around in the ye olde days, um, was it 2014, 20 probably 2015 as well, because Steam machines were supposed to they only made, like, 1 or 2 concept models, but the idea was they were gonna sell, it was originally the big picture mode back then of they're first kicking it off, and they're like, "Hey, everyone can make a home theater PC, a smaller PC for your TV," and they were really making a big push for case manufacturers to do this, and this is about would have been about, um the NVIDIA GTX 700 series, so like
Mhm.
780s, um, 790s. We both built PCs around the same time as this, and I remember giving Big Picture Mode a try. I wasn't that impressed by it. It was fine for what it was worth, but now it's a completely different landscape. Thanks to the Steam Deck and thanks to Steam OS really kicking off and a lot of developers making a lot of good presets and everything for it. Now is a really good time to bring this thing back. But also, it's completely their own unit. So I didn't know if you wanted to go in any more, or if you want me to take off from talking about more specs and information about this thing.
Yeah, so I guess I guess go ahead and talk about what is most important to you for this Steam machine, and then we'll because like I'm thinking about a lot of this stuff, but I mean, but I'm kind of thinking about like the most important things I'm thinking about are like the big picture things. So I think you can go ahead and go through that, and then maybe I'll touch back on some of this other stuff because I have some thoughts about the controller, but we should probably get through all of these before we go into the other stuff. So yeah, please go ahead.
All right. So I'll say this: if you want to see an in-depth, like really in-depth
Breakdown.
video about this, I would go with the Gamers Nexus. They've talked to Valve. You get to see the inside of it a lot easier. It's a really good long video. And then also uh, Digital Foundry has a good discussion about it as well. But as far as the Steam machine, it, the best way I explain is it kind of looks like a Xbox Series X had a baby with a GameCube, and it is uh, a very small form factor. They It's funny, they showed us there was a slide going around with small form factor, and it had a banana on top, which was wider than the actual unit. You know,
Hmm.
it was a just drawing graphic. But the way one of the Valve designers said was they kind of built it from the fan out. So they went, like the fan being because it's one giant fan. That is kind of the main cooling to it. They have it's supposed to be a pull style fan, I believe, and it's just really neat how it's built out. It's going to be an enclosed box with the vents, but the front end is supposed to be removable. So in theory, you can 3D print or custom your own front end cover.
From panels
And
and make cool stuff like that. Yeah.
but it's a BGA style, board, as it were. So the GPU, CPU is supposed to be soldered onto it, helping create a smaller form factor, but also means that you're not going to be able to upgrade the CPU, GPU concept. You can get to the RAM. I don't think it's mentioned if it's one or two sticks slots available for RAM, and but that's going to be have to be have to take it more apart in order to get to it. But the actual storage itself is going to be standard M.2 NVMe, like the little stick of gum.
Hmm.
It's actually what they showed was the smaller form, which I can't remember the exact SKU type number, but your two basic models are like 512 and a 2 terabyte. But if you want to remove that, they have space for a full stick of M.2 NVMe that you can put in there, so you can switch out the memory easy enough. And there's going to be also micro SD card slot you can put in, which will tie into their whole ecosystem between the Steam Deck, uh, between this and between what they have come. We're going to talk about next after this. Uh, the other bits they have for this is uh, they're going to be uh, the the Wi-Fi setup for this is going to be Wi-Fi 6E. The I mean, there's just so much about this. Even the LED in the front panel.
Hmm.
The LED in the front panel is supposed to be uh, customizable, so you can change the color of it. You can actually even customize it, so it will show the LED strip bar
Hmm.
is can even have it so if you're loading or downloading a game, it'll show you the progress of your downloads, which is a fun little thing to
I
do
mean,
with it.
it's kind of a glorified load bar, but it's kind of cool. Yeah.
And one of the other things, it's the way this is set up. So they're saying it's a semi-custom AMD Zen 4
Right.
CPU, um, and it's supposed to be 4.8 gigahertz, 30 watts, a power draw, and the it's a semi-custom GPU, AMD RDNA 3. Um, uh, I forget. I think it was supposed to be like I forget what the equivalent of this is, but in current GPUs, it's supposed to be a couple generations back now. But because it's RDNA 3, it will be able to hit. They're claiming it's going to be able to hit 4K 60 asterisks. It's supposed to be with the frame generation on, and you know what? That's fine. I think there's no. I'm not upset with that. I actually think it's a really solid thing to have. It'll create a new baseline. It's going to be more powerful than obviously than the Steam Deck, uh, so it's going to be a step up. But at the same time, uh, easily communicate. It can communicate really easy between the two. So FSR, there's nothing wrong with that. Some people are very they question it whether or not it's worth it. I think it's just the way of the future, and for the price performance, I think it'll probably be the best route you can. Yeah, granted, later on, I'm just curious how often they're going to update this in the future. Will it be every year they'll have a new model drop and then they'll just name it with by the year or something? Not 100% sure on that. The other bit is a lot of small form factor units have they claim to be only so big. Like X. This is supposed to be roughly like 6 inches in diameter or something like 6 inches wide. Now, others will be like, "Yeah, we have a small form, PC, but the power brick is external." So therefore,
Mm.
technically, it's but no, this they actually put the power unit inside as well. So the PSU is actually inside, which is really impressive. Um, they said it's supposed to be designed to fit in under your entertainment system. I'm curious if enough people have the like IKEA Kallax and like that little cube space that like I'm wondering if they're trying to design it for that.
Hmm.
Um, Now, when it does come out, I really recommend probably going over to Gamers Nexus because they have all the things they can do for the thermal imaging, and they have an anechoic chamber, so they'll be doing proper sound tests. I'm really curious to see how that plays out in the end. Uh, yeah, those are the things that I'm kind of like really excited about on on this aspect. Uh, as far as this goes, I like the tech stuff is just it's phenomenal. Uh, but you said you're really interested in the big picture mode, aspect of it, so yeah, go ahead and take it away.
Well, I think we should go through one more, the last thing that they talked
Okay.
about, and then kind of the big picture of what's going on with at least these three things. So the last thing that they introduced was the Steam Frame, which is their VR headset and controllers as well. Um, but it's a VR headset that uh, I don't know for sure, but this is going to replace the Index, um, and take the place as like the top Steam VR format. And I don't remember too much about what was new and different about it, other than because I haven't really been keeping up with the Index or Steam's VR stuff. But yeah, so do you have much information on that off the top of your head?
So I don't as far as comparisons to the index go, I don't have a lot of comparison information. The information that I do have is talks about like, for example, so the new Steam frame, it's the one of the big there's a couple innovative things that they have for them. So one of the things they're touting is it's coming with like a special proprietary 6 gigahertz wireless dongle, and that's going to be able to be a better streaming solution to the headset. I believe it's probably going to run like so you can this isn't is going to be completely wireless. So that's a lot of fans who hate having a single wire. This is supposed to be a completely wireless. It's going to have cameras facing out. Uh, it has a foveated rendering, which a lot of people seem to be thinking it's like brand new. It's new for them, but it's PlayStation's been doing foveated rendering. The thing is, they're calling it foveated streaming rendering because it's being through wireless. But foveated rendering, in a nutshell, is they have cameras inside, and it looks at your eyes. So wherever you're looking, that is where the processing power is going to be. Uh, the outskirts, your peripheral, is going to be a little more blurry, but that's okay because that doesn't need to be crystal clear. Just like when you're looking in real life, you can't see everything in perfect clarity.
Yeah, a lot of people
Um,
I don't think a lot of people don't know that like what you're looking at is clear, but everything in your peripheral vision is kind of just made up by your brain. It's sort of there, but there's like no detail. And if you like really think about what you're not looking at, but you can still see, you can kind of gather that. So it's kind of smart actually that they would just be like, well, why don't we do the same thing with our technology?
yeah, so essentially because of the Wi-Fi being connected to the headset. The one is for streaming audio and visual, but the other one's supposed to be for the actual like Wi-Fi itself. So it's the two bandwidths help alleviate some problems. In my brain, it kind of works somewhat similar to like the PlayStation 5 DualSense controllers. Like it technically runs off of two Bluetooth connections, I believe.
Okay.
Because one is for the speaker audio and some of the haptic stuff, but the other is for the actual control function itself. Um, so in sense by splitting the load, it makes it a lot easier, run smoother, and ideally you'd have this thing hooked up to a computer. But you also don't need a computer for this. You'll be able to run uh, the Steam frame and put games onto an SD card, pop it in, and just play on on the go, which is a nice it's nice. I'm not sure what the visual impact will be because it will have processing power in it, but how does that compare to your the Steam machine? Not really too sure at this moment. Um, so but yeah, the foveated rendering, it's going to alleviate some of the stress overall, just because it's going to make whatever you're looking at crystal clear. Uh, in comparison, it has the pancake lenses, so it's going to be like it's two. Uh, all right. I'm forgetting what the actual. It's 2160 by 2160 per lens. It's an LCD lens, so it's not the OLED, but they are pancake lenses, which everyone seems to like a lot more. I don't have personal experience with them because PSVR 2 is OLED, but they're curved, so they're not the pancakes. But it seems it should be fine. I think the clarity is going to be, as with that resolution, you may not get the pure blacks of an OLED, but I think it's honestly, it really won't matter. I think it'll just be awesome anyways. You're supposed to be display supposed to be at anywhere from 72 to 144 hertz. Um, so, but the asterisk or whatever 144 is experimental. But hey, so long as it can do 90 is the sweet spot. For you need at least 90 to be real is considered smooth. 120 is ideal.
Mhm.
So yeah, it seems like it should do that no problem. Then they're also saying that the up to 110 degrees viewing angle. So that's good. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. The whole thing is it's being processed. The processor in the Steam frame is 4 nanometer Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and it's going to be have a 16 gig RAM. It's a LPDDR5X. So storage is going to be 256 to 1 terabyte. Um, and I don't know if they talked about battery life at all. But it's supposed to be something. It's supposed to be was it 45 watts power draw? So that's and it's going to be one uh, USB-C 2.0 port. So that's pretty nice. I think there's not much else outside of that. There's the custom look of it. I think it's not as once again, I don't know I feel like the index is going to be a more hardy thing, and I'm not sure if they're going to phase. I don't know if necessarily they're going to phase out the index. The index is, I feel like a more beefy unit.
Mhm.
Like, so it feels like this is more convenient and comfortable, maybe for how light it is, but at the same time, I think it's because of the ease of use, it'll make it more popular. Kind of like how a lot of people like the Quest 2 and Quest 3, due to the being completely wireless. It may not be as full, like you can wire them in to make it for gaming purposes to make it look better, but most people would still rather play wireless, even if it's a downgrade in quality of textures and stuff like that, in order to just have that ease of use. And I think they have by making this a truly wireless unit with dongle. I think this will kind of change the landscape in that aspect because um, you have a lot of stuff. Oh, and of course, well, you're going to be able to play normal Steam games on this thing too. You're going to have a big picture mode, like you're going to just literally be able to make a giant, 100-inch screen in front of your eyes. Uh, a lot of other headsets already do that. PlayStation, I'm pretty sure Quest does that too, and the Index. So you can already make it a giant screen. But that's the concept is like, hey, you can not only play regular Steam games, but you'll also be able to play, anything VR specific, and do any other VR content because it's meant to work with a computer. So if you want to do, VR globe tours, if you want to look at adult pornography, you can do that all in VR on your Steam frame. While Sony's like, nope. We do not like the adult stuff. We do not like you surfing the internet. So we do not like any of that. Because people did that with the
'Cause
PSVR 1 on the PS4, and they're like, when the PS5 came, they're like, "No, we don't have an internet browser." Yes, you can access the internet when you have to for like EULAs and stuff, but you do not have
I have a
free roaming
browser.
access.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, uh, but anyways, those are the three big things that came out, and they've now really solidified their ecosystem between a new controller, which is going to work with their new PC, the Steam machine, and you're going to have the new VR headset, the Steam Frame, but also you have your Steam Deck. So you have on the go at home, uh, in multiple ways to go on the go. So this is and the memory and a SD card to pop in between. Once again, I mentioned before the Steam Deck, the Steam machine, the Steam Frame. Uh, so your library can go with you anywhere you want. That's kind of cool.
Okay. So, yeah, so I think that there's so much kind of weirdness with Steam in a good way. Um, I think that this presentation is very strong. I think that it's really strong in part because it's very much no frills. Like they're kind of dropping the mic here. They're coming out, showing you what they have, kind of without somebody famous, without really anybody pictured at all, and they're just kind of showing you what it can do, uh, and kind of leaving it up to other people to kind of do teardowns and really kind of get more into the weeds. But they're like, okay, this is what we're going for. Um, it's very clear, and I can see this. I can see each and every one of these things for what it is, how it fits into my life, how much I would want each of these things. So on all that stuff, I think they're doing a fantastic job. Um, I think that I think that the Steam machine itself is, for me personally, the most valuable thing. Um, but I'm not really sure why. I think it's very interesting. Uh, I think it's interesting how Steam has done this very slowly over a decade and has done it backwards from the way that you would think that you would want to do it, which I think is actually the right way. You know, because you have, trying to remember, like you would have the Steam Link back in the day, Steam controller, uh, the Vive, and then and then the and then the Steam Deck, and the pieces are all there, So you've already got the tech, you've already got some proof of concept, and then to renew some of those things, change around some of those things, make some of those things more proprietary, um, and it's like, well, you already have all the extras, so you just need a box to link it all together. So I think that's pretty genius in a lot of ways. The the thing that I'm the most curious about is the price point of the Steam machine. So 4K 60. You and I were talking before the podcast, and you were guessing at about $1,000.
So what they said, what I believe they were quoted as saying is something along the lines of more expensive than a a console, but it's targeting like a low end PC. And once again, with the kind of components they have, and then of course the now terrible RAM market,
Mm-hmm.
uh, being for what it's worth, due to AI, RAM prices have kind of almost doubled at this point within the last like month and a half. They're at least anywhere from 50 to like almost 100% more than they've been. Um, so if that continues, that's going to, of course, wreak some havoc. That equals plus tariffs and everything else. Um, at least for the U.S. market, and Steam is being U.S. based. So we'll see. But I think $1,000 is a safe bet. Granted, it also depends on which hard drive SKU, but I think for the if there's like a 1 terabyte for a grand, I think that's fair. Um, you're looking at something that's the Steam, the Steam Deck, is a grand or less, depending on models you get or whatever. So I think that's fair for this at home unit by itself. That's
Yeah.
just my solid guess. I think any more than a grand, unless if it's special, like or super high, like like a 5, 8 terabyte model or something like that, I can see that being the case for running it more expensive. But for the pieces that you're getting in there, 1 terabyte I think is a safe, comfortable amount for the average consumer. And I think a grand is what we're willing to spend, especially when you're looking at a world post uh, Xbox, threatening to raise their prices, PlayStation 5 Pro, the Nintendo Switch. I think you can't get anything less than like $700, $800. So if there's a cheaper model, I think $700, $800 is might be it. But I don't know, 800 to a grand. So I'm thinking a grand for like I'm hoping what would be the high end, or at least very least the middle. If there's three SKUs, so
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I agree with all that. I think I'm kind of afraid of a grand. Um, I think that if they could somehow hit 900, I don't really know if that's even really possible. But if they could hit 900, then that would be a gigantic win. If they can do all of this, if they can hit a fake 4K 60, even if it's like not quite 4K and not quite 60, but for 900, and you can play all your Steam games and you can do all your stuff, then that would be a gigantic win. I think though that you're probably right that if they are targeting a low end PC, I keep thinking like, yeah, but a PS5 it was like $600, and it's like, yeah, but it's not 2020 anymore. We're actually we're way beyond that, um, and price of everything is going to go up. So really, a grand is probably. I mean, in this administration, a grand is probably the new 500. That's probably where we're kind of living right now. So and I think that this is going to be the best value between really, I guess, four, between Sony, Microsoft, Nintendo, um, and Steam. This is probably going to be the best value overall because, especially if you have especially if you were a big time PC player or a PC gamer and you have a significant library, um, then my goodness, like that's kind of going to go with you, which is becoming less of a boon, as time goes on. Sony's kind of getting into that, everyone's kind of getting into that, so it's not the end of the world, but I think that's something that helps. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to see if we need to get to the elephant in the room yet or not. Um, yeah, it seems like a good value proposition. That price tag is going to be very important, but at the same time, I'm like, whatever the price is, I'm pretty dang confident that that Xbox is going to be significantly more expensive, and that Sony is going to be at least $50 to $100 more expensive. So so I so I'm kind of actually, they're shipping in 2026. I think that like we're going to find out that price point, and from there it's going to be like, okay, this is the new bottom. This is the new bottom of what things are going to be. So yeah, as I'm watching this, I'm just kind of like, man, Xbox is now in a lot of trouble. Um,
I
I
mean, if you look at the Steam machine, I mean, that's an Xbox. So, according to their marketing anyways, it's gonna be. So, I mean, I'm waiting for someone to do, just a face plate cover that just says Xbox on it. And that's the thing is if you're looking at their software, if you're looking at the Game Pass, once again, you won't need an actual Xbox physical unit. You just buy the Steam machine and play the Xbox games. And then PlayStation's kind of going that way to a certain extent. where because a lot of their games you may have to wait a year or something like that, but their games are starting to come out regularly on Steam. Um, this is looking more and more like a better option. Now, for those who have to use Windows for work or like for whatever extra purposes, that's where this kind of comes out a little different, because if you can use Linux and you can work within the bounds of Linux for what you need, because this is still a PC. It's not just a video game. The Steam machine is a PC. It primarily focuses on video games, but it's still a PC. So you can still do all the other things Linux can do, right? uh which is great. That makes it way more viable in the grand scheme of things, opposed to an Xbox or a PlayStation. If it's fairly priced, if it should be good. Now, if you have to use your PC for work, or your computer for work, or for school, if you're heavy film editing or music creation, if you need to do a lot of Blender or graphical tasks, then yes, you'll need your own dedicated thing, and by that point, you'll be spending big money anyways. But for the price, for the people that this is targeting, this is supposed to be entry level. I think this is actually a really good target that they're hitting, and it's hitting all the right notes. Um, you'll still be able to do all your normal day-to-day tasks on a Steam machine.
Mm.
Um, and it just lessens the clutter around your house. Uh, it's kind of a brilliant move that just took like 10 years to finally come out. So
Yeah, it's definitely going to be the best value proposition. While Xbox is trying to get out of the console market, Steam is trying to get into the console market. Um, it's and Sony hasn't said or even really hinted at, as far as I can tell, or as far as I remember, but we can almost. I mean, I'm almost positive now that Sony is going to be going this way as well. I mean, so the next that like because if Xbox has already said we're basically making a PC for the next console, and then Steam comes out with basically a PC as their console, um, there's very little doubt in my mind that Sony's next console is going to be a true blue, or as true as they are, now. I've said for a long time that consoles really are kind of they're kind of like boxed in, or limited PCs. That's really what they are. They're just kind of closed off in certain ways. Um, so I think that Sony's next thing is going to be very similar to this. It won't have the same form factor. It'll be longer, but it will almost certainly be more PC-ish than like anything else. They're basically telling you that with some other news that we have here, which I'll wait to get into because we'll let this shine a little bit more. But yeah, like I don't know how much they're going to advertise for this, but they're not going to have to. They're not going to have to advertise very much for this. You know, this is going to be advertised the way that the Steam Deck was, with a ton of with some advertising outside, but a lot of advertising is going to be done when you're going to buy games on Steam, which everybody does at least 3 or 4 times a year whenever they have their sales, plus all the other times of the year. So I think they're going to save money on that, and if they want to, uh, they can advertise on TV or around the internet or whatever. Um, and the thing is that like I know what Nintendo is. For better or worse, I know what they are. So I know that when I want what they are, I can and have to go get that. I have to go to Nintendo for that. Sony, I know what they are. And same thing. Steam, I more clearly now than ever know what they are. And Xbox is the outlier from all that, where like I don't know what they are, and this Steam machine and the whole suite here makes uh, everything that Xbox is doing even more unclear, even more muddy. Um, and I just feel like this is coming to eat their lunch. I mean, like it's literally like a better box, like a better form factor. It's not taking over your living room. It's not, you know, gigantic. It's smaller. It's coming out earlier. Um and I think this is kind of the reverse situation of the Sega Saturn and the Sega Dreamcast, where they came out too early and they were underpowered and they just kind of misread the market all the way around. This feels like they're reading the market exactly right. They're going to come out earlier. They already have a stranglehold on the PC gaming market, and um, yeah. So I think so. The other thing I want to say is that so how long has Steam been around? Like 20, like 2003, 2000?
Uh, my guess is 3 or 2003, 2004.
I guess
It's I yeah.
when was the first Half-Life game? Because that'd be Valve,
Uh,
right?
well, yes, but that wasn't Half-Life 1 wasn't necessarily for the Steam marketplace.
For sure, yeah,
It
yeah.
was yeah. So, I'm trying to I'm trying to remember when like I think like I'm remembering Steam early on like Half-Life 2 and my brain is saying like '04, but I can't remember off the top of my head.
So
So,
basically, we could round to like just like maybe, you know, like a, so let's just say '04, even if the very earliest that we just didn't know it's like '02 or something like that. So, you know, they're the newest player in this market because '04, that would be about the time the Dreamcast had killed Sega. So Sega bounced out, and that would be about the same time that Xbox. I mean, Xbox came out in, you know, '01, right? So Steam,
Steam
um,
launched September 12th of 2003.
'03.
So yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So the end of '03, you know, toward the end of '03. So they are the newest player, not by a lot, you know, but but they are the newest player, and more significantly, they are kind of a from scratch company. Microsoft was coming in with the Xbox with, you know, with everything that Microsoft was, with a, you know, like, even if we fail, we're just going to be the zombie that never, you know, dies because we have so much money from, you know, all the Office products. Um, so, and Windows and stuff like that. So in a way, this is actually really really good for the industry, I think, because it proves that you don't have to be some kind of megacorp conglomerate to get in and win. At least you didn't in the early 2000s, but there's a lot of times that Steam could have been crushed if somebody really wanted to come in and crush them or buy them or something like that. And it never happened. I think it might just be because they just stayed like under the radar a bit and kind of off on their own. And but at the very least, you have to admit that Steam has always been providing the best value. It's like we are providing value. It may not be the best quality or the best whatever, but like doggone it, this is going to be the best value. You're not going to be able to argue with the prices and what you can get for it. And PC people, PC gamers have rewarded them, you know, time and time again. Um, I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing overall for the gaming market because I think it proves that the consumer can win out in the end. Um, yeah, it's very interesting to me. It's really interesting to me. Um,
It's I mean, but then again, Valve I agree with you, but at the same time, I think it's a little easier for Valve because uh, they kind of leave their stuff alone. I mean, they have their core products, but they only focus on those core products. They try to make some things here and there that have recently flopped, some of their extra, games that they've looked in. For the most part, it's just their money maker has been CS:GO. They've made a few legendary games and they haven't proceeded to make anything out of it. And then you got Dota. So between CS:GO and Dota, those are they're just farming off of that and royalties by having the best user interface, and that's where Microsoft has fumbled the most. Was no one likes Microsoft setup on PC.
Yeah.
Their old Windows for PC initiative back in the day. The Xbox is clunky interface on the PC, and it's they're trend chasing when it comes. And your thing was you're like, I don't know. I'm quoting you now, but you're like, I don't know what Xbox is. I'm like, well, neither do they. They
Yeah.
don't know what they are at this point, and uh, that's the problem is because they're going for the quick buck. They're going for whatever is like the zeitgeist of the moment. Their interface was nice and neat when the Xbox 360 first came out. And then they're like, hey, guess what? We can just litter all this crap with all these ads. And you can, especially when they were trying to do was that the Windows 8 push where they're like, everything's supposed to be touch interface and like all these, all the little uh, data bits, and now that's why everyone's hating on the concept of the new anything Windows related now because Windows 11 trying to spy on you more and try to get more data from you.
Hmm.
Like they're doing everything they can to be anti-consumer. Um,
And Windows 10 was better. You know, I've
yeah,
used Windows 11 a little bit on this tablet that I have. That I mean, it's a PC tablet. It's got a keyboard and stuff. And I'm like, why is everything in the freaking middle?
well,
Whatever.
because it looks like Apple, and that's it's terrible.
Even
Uh, but that's the thing is Microsoft doesn't know they're having an identity crisis. They're doing everything for their bottom line, and they're doing nothing for the consumer at that rate. While Steam has just left everything alone for the most part, for better or for worse. And I'm like, yes, you now see a lot more shovelware,
well, yeah.
but
So what I was going to say, the counter to my argument that I thought of during my argument was that Steam, you know, in one way they kind of prove that you can win through value and stuff like that, but in another way they also prove that you if you are not the megacorp, you must become the megacorp. You know, you need a money printer, CS:GO, and Dota, and whatever. I'm sure they have a couple other things. And Steam itself is a money printer. That's really the first money printer. You need a money printer, and if you can get one of those, then you can slowly but surely carve your way into the market, and it just kind of shows how important those money printers are. But yeah, I um yeah, so I really think that Xbox is in a very precarious situation because I think that so there's two things. The first thing is Call of Duty. Like Call of Duty cannot fail now. Call of Duty and I guess Blizzard stuff or whatever, but mainly Call of Duty. Call of Duty cannot have a misstep. They cannot have a hiccup. And I think that over time we're going to start to see the kind of I'd say the noose, but like the noose tightening around Call of Duty, where they're going to start playing it safer and they're going to start doing these things because there's not really a reason to do Xbox stuff. So like I keep like looking at that and going like, okay, you can't put all your eggs in one basket. You guys love your Call of Duty and you paid a lot for it and it's really nice and you have your Blizzard stuff and you have all this other stuff that you paid for and but like you didn't really invent that. You're trying to buy success, and people who buy success don't know how success works. And they like, I mean, kind of like EA has run BioWare into the ground and other companies into the ground, or depending on your opinion of BioWare, but they've definitely run other companies into the ground, developers. And I think that there's going to be a bit of that going on, and I just wonder, I just think that Microsoft, or that Xbox can't really afford, you know, any mistakes with those blue chip properties that they have. The other thing is that for so for better or worse, and I think probably for worse, I think that there's like a tale of two companies with Xbox, and I think it is that there is Microsoft and then there is Xbox. Like Xbox is just a product that Microsoft puts out, and Microsoft ultimately, to their credit, only really cares about their business software, Windows and the Microsoft Office suite. That is the bread and butter. That's the moneymaker. That's the end all be all. That is the thing they have the death grip on that whole marketplace for. So in a way, I kind of wonder if they can just be like, well, we have paid for really good products that somebody else developed, and we're going to run them, and then we're going to always print money with Microsoft Office products and Windows, and then the Xbox stuff can just, if it's good, it's good. If it's not, oh well. And that kind of makes me, I mean, I've never really been a big Xbox person, but it makes me kind of sad because like it's like, well, so I'm just going to be discounting them forever. Anyway, those are just some of my thoughts.
Yeah, the uh once again, it's kind of the writing's been on the wall. They're going, Xbox is leaning towards software, existence, and they'll still make the things that they make. Uh, so that's for better or worse. It's just kind of what it is. It's for anyone who is still a Xbox diehard. Uh, for them, they're in it's a difficult time. Uh, now the other thing I mentioned, I we forgot to talk about with the all these Steam announcements is the Steam Frame VR. One of the other things as I didn't mention was the controllers. They seem to be using. I forget if they actually mentioned this, but they seem to be using something like the Valve Index controllers. They seem pretty similar, so it's no real, change there. But the pricing on that, I believe there was supposed to be said that they're going to be targeting something less than a grand. I'm thinking it's at least a grand. Some people are speculating like maybe 1,200, and that might sound expensive, but
Mhm.
if you look at the Valve Index, like their old kit, like the Index VR kit that came with like two of the base station little satellite for monitoring and two controllers, that was all value bundled as a grand. But if you bought them individually, that was like 1,100 or something or more. So you don't need the base stations anymore with this because the Steam Frame has uh, the cameras, facing outward. I believe they're supposed to be monochrome, like the IR cameras, kind of similar to the PlayStations. I might be wrong about that though. But yeah, so you don't need extra hardware, which is another nice thing. But you're looking at, I'd say it's safe to say a grand. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if it's more than that. Uh, but it is also kind of a full-fledged unit, and especially if it comes with, it'd be expected because the Valve Index by itself is 500. Two controllers are 280. And then if you were to get the two base stations by themselves, they're 150 pops, so $300 for two of them. So yes, um, that's once again, it wouldn't be a surprise at all for this thing to be a grand. So you're looking at like 2 grand plus. Well, and then not even mentioning what the controller is going to cost. So if you want to buy the whole ecosystem, then you're gonna have to spend even more. So it's gonna be like 3 grand if you wanted to get like the Steam Deck too.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I
I'm
mean,
waiting
but
for that. I'm waiting for that fanboy base to come up now and just everyone switching
well,
over from Xbox to throw the Xbox hat down and put on the Steam hat. You know,
well, like the YouTube comments are on their video is like the most. These are the most like, I mean, fanboyish kind of comments. Everybody is is just as the kids say, glazing Steam right now, and I'm like, okay, okay. So that was the other thing. So seeing all these comments where there's glazing Steam and Gabe Newell and stuff, I am like, okay, this is how it starts though. Like everybody out the gate, unless they're a complete moron, which it's not. It takes 10 years to become an overnight success. I get that it's not really out the gate, But with this, but like this is the dawning of a new era, and so in that sense, I think of it as being out the gate. Everybody who's out the gate comes with, like the best deal ever because they can't really afford for this to fail. Like, I mean, it's not that it really is likely to, but they need this to be successful. They This is the new restaurant that opens up in your town that nobody's ever heard of, nobody's ever been to, that has amazing food, amazing service, and rock bottom prices. And you're like, wow, this is crazy. And you're like, this is so good. You start going there all the time. And then 5 years later, you're like, yeah, that place, yeah, that's like one of my favorite restaurants. And you're like, but you know what? They kind of were better like 4 years ago. And they were like, the food tasted better. And like, it was like a lot, it was a lot cheaper back then too. And the service was better too. Um, this is so like, I don't know if Steam's going to do that. They they hopefully won't, but I'm very dubious. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is very nice for the beginning, but fanboys need to like chill out. Two things about about the some of the hardware stuff that I'm going to nitpick a little bit. The first thing is that the frame, um, not that I'm like a super expert on VR headsets, but one thing that I think that it should have, you could probably be able to get it in the aftermarket, but it should have a built-in over the top strap of the head, because like unless this thing is extremely light on both the front end and back end, it's really going to be hard, especially over time, over a year or two of use, for that strap to really stick tightly on the head. And also, you don't want to have to just like, you don't want to have to ratchet that strap on super, super tight in order for it to hold onto the front of your head. You want it to almost, I mean, you don't want it, actually, a helmet would actually be the easiest, but you want it to kind of rest in front of your eyes, not be like literally strapped and vacuum sealed to your face. That's not very comfortable. So that's one thing that probably the aftermarket people will mess with, and hopefully it's not a problem. But that's just one thing that I'm like, I'm gonna nitpick that. The other thing is that like the Steam controller and these these trackpads, man, like I need to use it to see how it really works. I think that I think that it would be best in the long run if they were able to drop those. Maybe the next version of this, once the box is successful, we can kind of see how all this goes. I just really think that those trackpads, like I've never had a trackpad that I really thought could come close to being able to actually play a mouse game, like a point and click mouse game. Um, I hope it works. Uh, but I think that in the long run, we're probably just gonna be like, you know what, let's put out. If I'm Steam, I'm like, let's put out a a minimalist keyboard and mouse, and and that's probably going to be the next best thing, because like to me they're just in the way. It's like I'm not gonna play any games that need that. Um, if I do play a game that somehow needs that, I'm going to. I just can't see myself. I just can't see myself suffering through that. And it also makes me like not want to get it because they're on there. So anyway, that remains to be seen. But those are probably the two nitpicks I have with the hardware that I see right
All right.
now.
Well, for one, for the first thing, I can address it's the Steam frame core module plus strap is supposed to be 440 grams,
Okay.
and from the what it looked like is it looks like it's an elastic strap, so there is no ratcheting because it's not a fixed a hard unit. It just looks like it's a just elastic pullover soft strap on the side. So you get to your right comfort level, and then it's just an elastic tension. Um, Now, as far as the Steam controller goes, yeah, trackpads might feel weird, but at the same time, the developers who are going to use it are going to optimize for it. And if for games that you don't necessarily need it, uh, chances are they've already been optimized for a console controller, Xbox or PlayStation. So you can just use the Steam controller just like that, plus the extra, um, advantage of just using a thumb to mouse cursor way over if you wanted it to move faster instead of, you know, unless if you like to have a high end or high speed, thumbstick movements, it'll just be a faster way to use the trackpad. Um,
Yeah.
Now, specific games where that if you're play like in RTS or something where you have to be more precise, I assume that if it's a major publisher that Valve will reach out to them, and try to get something, but at the same time, the fan base is most definitely gonna customize for that and have their own loadouts, so you don't have to worry because someone else will most definitely do the work for you and be like, here's my customization for it, because that's the big thing is the original Steam, controller and, this one is supposed to be very customizable, remap a lot of the buttons, to suit your needs. Um, I think there's not a lot to worry about that. It's just a matter of weight per se, and I think it'll be more comfortable to use the two thumb pads opposed to using a PlayStation 5 and then trying to use the center pad to use as your mouse cursor. Because whenever I try to do that, that does not feel comfortable. But at the same time, I never feel like it's ever been optimized. It's like it's just a thing that exists there.
I mean, it
Yeah.
might be something that we're gonna just that like as an industry, it will have to be figured out as consoles become more PC and you have to do mousy type things. And it's like, I'm playing a game, I'm jumping out of this game to do a PC type thing. I'm on the couch. I could, run a mouse on my leg, but that's not really much better. There's, that. So yeah, there probably will have to be just like, that's going to have to be perfected. Um, in some way, shape, or form, or dealt with. Because I think we probably are going to have to kind of deal with that little bit more. I haven't seen it work so far, at least not amazingly well. Um, I'm not saying I can't. I just haven't quite seen it go all the way there yet. But if anybody's going to do it, it's probably going to be Valve. It's probably going to be Steam that is going to make this work. But yeah, man, like the box to me just seems like it's you can expanded memory and this seems like if you can start like the Steam Deck is nice, but it's really just like a really advanced nice peripheral. The box to me is like, okay, we're taking over the spot in your living room. That's kind of the coveted like prime gamer spot because like I know a lot of like PC gamers are like PC master race and stuff, but I hate to like trample in your garden of truths, uh, PC gamers, but like games are made for consoles. Like that's who they're made for first because most people play on consoles and it's like, oh, well, this is better. It's like, yeah, I know it's better, but like games are made for consoles. Even shooters, most shooters are made for consoles first, optimized for consoles first. So like that is like the main like meat of the industry, and if they can butt in and take the place, even of a fairly significant but small fraction of the market, man, it is going to be interesting times. Interesting times to be sure.
I don't necessarily agree with your statement overall, but I see where you're coming from. I think that it depends. They come in waves where like you'll have an era of a span of a couple years where the PC ports are trash, but then you'll have it flipped where the console ports are trash. I mean, I I do agree that they are the whole idea is taking up going to the front TV. And the idea is you don't need the mouse and keyboard, uh, or it's like, or at least the mouse. It's like because you'll have these touchpads. It is very annoying to have um, a mouse on hand. You either have to use a coffee table, buy a special lap unit, uh, have wide arms for your sofa or something like
You're
that.
always
And
knocking on the floor because it's sitting on your sofa arm. Yeah.
yeah, so I think it'll be good enough. At the same time, I also think that's the whole big picture mode. That's why it was supposed to be easier to navigate originally when they first did the Steam Machine concept back in 2015 or whatever. They were trying to make it so, hey, you guys can do this from your couch, navigate the menus, and make it less cumbersome. And now they've really come a long way with their setup, and I think it's fine. I think it'll be I'm not too worried about the way that's gonna set up. Your The other thing is, unlike a giant PC taking up a massive amount of space in your living room, this is nice. I really do actually like the design philosophy of this, the simplistic, understated look. It's very clean, and yeah, when it comes to it, Steam or Valve has the right idea, and there is going to be I think this is gonna be really solid if they can keep up with it and if there's no major flaws. So long as this thing comes out as advertised, more or less, and just does the thing, because there's a lot of people out there who absolutely love the Steam Deck, and even though it's not necessarily the most powerful, handheld, but it can still play surprisingly a large amount of games that it theoretically shouldn't be able to play. But because it's a mini PC in your hand, you can tweak it to your specs. So yeah, this was going to do its job, and so long as they don't mess it up and cause a massive, industry mishap, the ring of death situation, or if it's somehow not like completely sold out forever, just get people angry. The supplies are good, and if everything's solid, this shouldn't be a problem. It won't be but Valve doesn't necessarily always hit it out of the park. I mean, like I said, the first controller, the Steam Link, though Steam Link most definitely is considered like a failed experiment. The original, Steam machine was a proof of concept, but it wasn't anything outside of like one or two base units because they never actually mass produced their own thing. It was just, hey, we're partnering up with other vendors to come up with like approved cases and the concept, and like, yes, no, this is a more of a DIY thing, which is kind of like I said, it just happened to be the same time we were building our PCs, and I got myself a smaller form factor case, which was really nice. It was like it was like a giant VCR, or like it's just like slightly bigger than the Xbox One X, and
Mm.
so I actually really liked it for our apartment in Japan. It did really well with our entertainment system, and that was the right PC for my space. I ended up just using a wireless keyboard and mouse on my coffee table, opposed to actually using big picture mode, you know. And then I just have my controller hooked up. But when I needed to play, play first person shooters that I'd prefer to play with mouse and keyboard, I would do that then. And yeah, this with uh, Xbox and Sony are making it easier than ever for Valve to make a console
Yeah.
because all their games are going to them.
Yeah.
So unless if they're and then they're kind of stuck in a catch 22 because they're going to want to stop this. They're going to want everyone to come to their consoles, but the moment you stop that, uh, PC gamers are going to be super angry. You're going to start getting a lot of hate, and people are going to pirate anyways. You're going to run into a Nintendo situation where people are just going to get the games on PC anyways. But unlike the Nintendo Switch situation, at least the games won't be running that much better on PC, opposed to having a much better experience visually with Switch on PC.
I
So
think I think that Steam is doing a nice. My guess is that they're doing a nice little uh, uh, pincer maneuver on the other console makers and major game players, because because it's like, okay, so this, if this Steam machine is the value that we think it's going to be, then it's going to be cheaper, and do pretty much, as much as you would want it to. So the answer to that for the other ones, for let's say just Sony and Microsoft, is to get more power in their machine. Um, so at that point, it's like, okay, well, you're going to have to thread the needle there pretty cleanly, because if you put too much power in it, then it gets too expensive. Then and even if it doesn't get, even if it doesn't have that much power in it, it might still be too expensive compared to somebody building their own PC, which is already the domain of Steam. So you're talking about Steam kind of getting the low end, if I'm guessing right, and already having the high end. Because if you have a kick ass PC, like, 3,000 to and up dollar PC, then you're going to be like, well, uh, you know, it just makes it where it's like, well, if I have a lot of money, why don't I go for PC? If I don't have any money, why don't I go for, if I have a lot of money, I'm going to go with Steam. If I don't have a lot of money, I'm going to go with Steam. So it's like, it gets kind of narrow there. It's like, okay, so Sony, what are we really doing here? What are we? Well, like, you've got a good machine, and it's kind of too expensive compared to what I could get if I built my own PC, or even had a PC built. And your games, I just have to wait like a year to get your games, and probably it's going to be even less time to wait or as time goes on, because they seem to be coming a little bit faster, a little bit cleaner. So yeah, if you're not just a hardcore, ultra hardcore, must play, you know, every game that comes out this year, uh, yeah, it's gonna be a tougher nut to crack, I think, for Sony and for Xbox.
Yeah, I mean, it's so the Sony's just gonna have to come up with how to make their experience more unique, more personalized. That's what's driving Nintendo kind of as it is, because the experience you get on Nintendo is kind of unique to itself, and so long as they make their games strictly for themselves. So the best way, I mean, but as Steam or as Valve updates the Steam Deck in the near future, that's going to give the Switch another run for its money, unless if you're playing something that you have to have the Joy-Con separated. So you're going to then end up in a situation where, like, well, the it's going to be console manufacturers against Valve, and so I'm just waiting for the dystopian future where Sony and Nintendo merge to make their own new console and make it strictly 100% gaming for gaming's sake. And create something new that makes it harder to, that's not practical to do on PC. Because that's the thing is, the Wii, for example, the Wii was something you couldn't do on PC. Like,
Yeah,
no matter what you did, like, you had you could make it work, but you'd have to buy all these extra peripherals, and just it really wasn't practical at all. And uh, that's why the Wii was the way to go. The Wii by far was not a powerhouse in any shape or form, but it was the experience you can get on that. Um, so there's no way to do that without thinking outside the box. Nintendo is probably the only one who can still do that in their own way. Um, and Sony's just gonna have to come up, with, I mean, the best thing they have for them is coming out with their own strong IPs, making it so that everyone can focus on them. And yeah, it may only take they may people are willing to wait, but at the same time, other people who, like, well, I can reliably play, or if that's where my friends are, like, if that's where the community is, the fighting game community, if they're still playing on, it's a lot easier to bring a console to to an event than it is for everyone to have PCs set up across the board, because there's so many more variables that can go wrong with a PC. With the console, you just, like, console controller, joystick or whatever, HDMI to TV, boom, update firmware, one and done, and that's it. So that's still going to be the tournament way to go. So it's like,
yeah.
and So Sony needs to just double down on that and reliability. Um,
I mean, yeah, the reliability, the build quality, and stuff like that, and kind of making a nice experience is that's going to be a good way to go. I think that the brain trust that Nintendo and Sony have, where they have like these developers that you trust in so much, that is going to be um, that's good for now, and it will probably be good for maybe for at least 5 years, maybe as much as 10 years. But like the age of AI created games or extremely heavily assisted by AI games, games where like it's like one person or three people who are like, well, we have all this AI power. We have like these like we have like three $10,000 PCs, and we were able to like make all of our assets with AI and get the AI to put it all together and make this game that's really really awesome with AI with like three people, and the whole budget was like, you know, like 100 grand maybe, which is insanely nothing, for game development. I think we're going to start to see that as AI comes out and becomes, more pronounced in society. And at that point, it's going to be like, well, what's your $1 million per day studio, Sony? Like, what like that's not making as much profit. It's making money, but now it's like it's extremely cumbersome to run. Um, yeah, I don't want to say the end is nigh, because there's a long way to go. There's a lot of ways Steam could screw up, or the Valve could screw up all this stuff. You never know how it's really going to go or when AI is really going to take hold. We're always, I think they said 3 years ago that we were 5 years away. So, and now they're saying we're 5 years away. So it may be a lot longer. The AI might be the internet in 1990 instead of 1999, like we think that it is. Um, so so
the way I'm looking at this, I'm looking at it a little more positive. The positive spin on this is going to be more competition is good for the industry. It'll make other companies try to innovate, try to compete for mind share, and hopefully it'll benefit us. That's the best outlook I can hope for. Um, you know, it's hard to speculate about the whole AI bit because whether or not it's a bubble that's going to burst or if it still got a little light, we'll see. But as far as that goes, I mean, Sony has proven to us that they still have more on their plate, and that's what I'm going to roll into the next segment of. The Sony just had dropped recently, a couple days now ago. There was the state of play for Japan, and they have a bunch of stuff that they've decided to talk about. I feel like this was very much a. I can understand why they didn't roll this out to the Western market because I feel like it is very Japan centric focus for this. So you had written down all the things they had talked about. We're gonna go through and just briefly touch mention everything, but there's only a few key things that we really wanted to talk about out of this Japan state of play.
yeah, yeah. So first up, Dragon Quest Seven Reimagined. It's a nice looking version of Dragon Quest Seven. So uh, so check that out if you want. The next one that they talked about is a game called In Kobini. So Kobini is basically a convenience store in Japan. So it's basically about running a convenience store. I actually kind of like this. I was like, this looks kind of nice. Probably not something that I'll actually.
I'm hoping they have the when you have a theft that goes on and you grab the little orange orbs that are in the front, like look like a Dragon Ball, because and then you just use that to chuck at them. So if you ever go to a conveni and you happen to see these what looks like a chalky or liquid, some sort of liquid in an orange ball, you're like, what are these things and why are they by the register? It's just like, dude, does Japan just have like Dragon Balls everywhere? What it's meant to do is it's meant that if someone were to steal something, as they run out the door, the clerk would throw this at them. It would create a marking, and therefore, as the police, if you see anyone walking around with this, obviously they've done something wrong, and that way they can call the police, and the police can look for that said perpetrator. Uh, I just want that to be in the game. I just want, a quick time event or some sort of aim and shoot, uh, and we'll see what happens, but no, it's a chill game. If it was Western made, it would just be convenience simulator, and it wouldn't have nowhere near the charm or the quality that this seems to have.
Yeah, this looks like it does have some quite a bit of charm to it. Yeah, I hope that for your sake is in the game. All right, so next up, Coffee Talk Tokyo. These Coffee Talk games, they look kind of nice. They look like a chill time. I'd kind of like to play one of these at one point, but I think I have. I think they've given away one, or it was been on super sale on Sony's or on PlayStation 5, but never actually played any of them. But anyway, Coffee Talk Tokyo, that's going to happen. And then
I think the first one is available on PlayStation Plus for extra members or higher.
that must be the
So
one that I have access to, because I was like, I'm pretty sure I have access to one of these. And then two horror games these appear to be pretty small horror games, both under the the umbrella of a title called Broken Lore. The first one is Broken Lore Unfollow, and and the second one is Broken Lore Ascend. So Broken Lore Unfollow seems like it's about like unfollowing. It seems like to be like some kind of internet kind of horror. To be honest, I don't remember too much about what was all going on in the trailer. I do remember Ascend is horror as well, but you and a friend or friends are climbing the Tokyo Tower, which it kind of looks, if you're not familiar with Tokyo Tower, it kind of looks like the Eiffel Tower but orange and with white, and it does look very climbable, but not like something you would be able to survive very easily just out of the blue. So those are two games that are coming out. I had not heard of this Broken Lore, but apparently it's a thing.
at least we're making it a thing. So yeah.
Yeah, it's thing now. So next up, we've already heard about this game a little bit, but they had the developers come on and talk a bit more about it. Fatal Frame 2, Crimson Butterfly remake. So yeah, so they have talked about this in other showcases and stuff. So looks like a fun game. Looks like it would be pretty cool, especially if you are have a sweet spot in your heart for the Fatal Frame series. Next up, Dynasty Warriors Origins Visions of Four Heroes DLC is coming out. So I forgot that the Dynasty Warriors game came out. How long ago did that come out? Like the summer or
Dude,
something?
I've stopped with Dynasty Warriors. I've completely checked out.
So,
So,
so
yeah, you're asking the wrong
you,
person about this
well,
one.
you are the podcast Dynasty Warriors expert. So what are you even
Yes,
here
I've
for?
played a few. I have played a few.
Okay.
A few more than you. So,
Well, yeah, I think I remember playing them back in the day on PS2. I'm pretty sure. Next up, Gran Turismo Spec 3. I'm not really sure where that fits in, but the guy that was talking about it on this thing seemed to say that it was new. So Gran Turismo Spec 3, and then there's going to be a power pack that's going to expand sort of the types of races and stuff. So yeah, there's that. Next up, Motion Wreck. This is a like a little side-scrolling kind of a 2D platformer. Seems to have some kind of a gimmick. Looks very indie. Looks cute. Yeah. Next up, Wandering Sword. This is a. I don't know if it's Chinese made, but it's definitely about like the medieval days of China. Looks sort of like, it reminds me of an old school JRPG that just takes place in China. It's isometric kind of 16-bit style, but looks kind of cool. Probably I'll pass on it, but looks kind of cool.
yeah, it has the same polish as a lot of games that are similar, like the old RPG aesthetic, the uh, the 2.5 or
2.5D,
2D
yeah.
3D. Yeah, it's like concept. Um, it's it looks nice. There's another game on here that kind of looks similar as well to that aesthetic. And if if you want a good RPG, or it's like if you're hankering for the old school stuff, This seems to be a modern take on that.
Yeah, yeah. Next up, AI, the Somnium Files, No Sleep for Kaname Date. I guess this is, they didn't say it was DLC per se. I think it's just sort of the next episode or whatever that's within the Somnium Files. I've always heard a lot of good things about this. I've tried a couple visual novels. I haven't had one really take. So this is one of those games where I always see it on ultra discount, and I'm like, yeah, but I don't really have time to read a 40-hour book that, yeah, is not a book.
Yeah, this one had come out on PC back in July.
Oh, dang.
So
Okay.
yeah, so this is but now it's coming to a PlayStation. So yeah, there you go.
There you go. Next up, Tokyo Extreme Racer. So I don't know too much about this series, but it's coming back out, I think they said. So if you're into racing, this will be something you should look at. Next up, Once Upon a Time, Katamari DLC, two
Real
deal.
quick, Dream Racer. It's a remake of I think it's an old PS2 by Genki Productions.
Mhm.
That was a lot of stupid fun back in the day. It's just if you like, it kind of reminisces the era of um, like the Fast and the Furious, the original two movies, more the second one, Too Fast, Too Furious, because it's all about the street racing. Uh, the original, like, I think it was Race Zero was the PlayStation 2 one that I remember playing the most, but you customize the paint, some of the paint stuff, get the carriage underglow and stuff like that. Is kind of like that era of racing games because almost everybody made some sort of street racing game at the time, and this is just a throwback to kind of that. Which, you know what, there's nothing wrong with that. It's a good arcadey fun. Nothing, like, I'm not sure how customized, but if you want something serious, you go with Gran Turismo. But sometimes you just want to sit back and not really worry about damaging a car when you run someone else into the wall, and that's kind of what these games were. So
Yeah, this is seems to be a little bit more arcadey and stuff like that. So yeah. Next up, Once Upon a Time Katamari DLC, two little DLCs, Dance Dance remixes and Neo remixes. So if you're down for those remixes, this is the game for you. Next up, Sonic is coming to Pac-Man World 2 repack. So that is going to be in there. So Sonic is going to be in Pac-Man, or but there's also Pac-Man in like Sonic levels they showed. So that was kind of weird. So yeah. Next up, Digimon Store.
they're throwing everyone. They're throwing everything and everyone into the Sonic Racing worlds. You got, I believe they've announced some Yakuza characters and stuff like that into it. So as far as Sonic Racing is kind of Sonic itself is just encompassing everybody, and so to have Sonic mixed with Namco for Pac-Man, Pac-Man World 2, I think that seems right. I mean, I don't know. It just though I would love to see Sonic roll into a ball and Pac-Man just eat him, and then try to get a power up or power. It's like,
Mm,
you know, uh, but no, it's uh, these are silly, quirky things, and but people love the hell out of Pac-Man still. I do not have the fondness of Pac-Man than other people seem to do, but Pac-Man World Championship and all that stuff. Uh, it's a fun collaboration. I think there's you know what? Be stupid, be goofy. Why not?
yes. Next up, Digimon Story Time Stranger is coming out. Um, I think that this game is actually fairly well rated on Metacritic. It might actually be something else, but surprisingly
No.
better.
This is the one. This has been out for a little bit, and it is well rated. Yes.
Okay, well, yeah. So yeah, that one. If you're into Digimon, hey Digimon, then you can check that out. Next up, Super Robot Wars Y DLC. So there's one on here that I think you may be a bit more interested in. I'll go ahead and list all three of them real quick though. Galactic Whirlwind Bragger, and then the next one is the Big O, and then the last one is Futo PI Portrait of Common Rider Skull. So are you interested in the Big O?
Dude, the fact that I saw Big O in in a Super Robot Tyson game is pretty awesome. Big O is a for those who don't know, it's an anime that was introduced in America like in '02 maybe. Um, had the had a very generic and simplistic opening theme song where it was just a big like siren blaring, and then it was just them repeating "Big O, Big O, Big O," and it's one of those. It's stupid, but I love it because of its simplicity, and the actual story itself was it was pretty good. I thought more or less to skim it over. It's Batman. Bruce
Mm,
Wayne
okay,
controlling
yeah.
a giant robot. So you got this rich dude with a butler, and he uses a giant robot to beat up things. And then there's a whole like sub story, like there's a whole mystery to uncover. It was actually a pretty solid anime for its time. Um, but yeah, I highly recommend the anime and the fact that it came out to Super Robot Wars. And the moment I saw it, I instantly heard the opening theme song playing in my brain, and I could not unhear it for then. So I was like, yeah, that's pretty great. But yeah, Super Robot Tyson or Super Robot Wars uh, has been infinitely popular in Japan from like the Game Boy Advance days. I think Wonder Swan even too. So like from handhelds, and you'd link up with your friends to play and fight each other. If they've incorporated pretty much every major robot from everything. The fact that they're throwing in a common writer at this point, which I don't know enough about that particular common writer, so I'm like, okay, that's cool. Uh, but yeah, Big O. I know it's like I know a handful of people that if I just mention Big O, they immediately think of the theme song. And now, when you're done, I highly recommend just watching the opening intro. Uh, just watch episode one. If it doesn't interest you, then you can bounce. But it gets really interesting. It has a very unique art style too. It uh, like I said, I think it lifts very heavily off of the original Batman the animated series, that kind of era of like Gotham. In this case, they kind of they have everyone looking like they belong in the same time period as Batman. Uh, but the mysteries and the that they uncover are way better in a lot of ways. But I don't want to spoil anything, so yeah, Super Robot Tyson. Yay, I guess.
Yay. All right. So next up, there's some Monster Hunter DLC, Monster Hunter Wilds DLC. I think it's in-game DLC that's coming out. I'm not too clear on the details, but if you're into that, go prepare for some more Monster Hunter stuff at the end. Next up, we already talked about Sonic a little bit, but here he comes again. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds. They're putting in some new characters, so go enjoy those. Um,
It's SpongeBob. They have a cheeseburger car, and once again, like I said, they're adding everyone to Sonic, and that's why when Sonic crossed over with Pac-Man, not a big surprise. It works. Like I said, it's stupid. Be stupid. Have fun. Why not?
okay. Next up. Okay. So this is a game that you and I thought was a little bit more interesting. It's a game called Nevergrave: The Witch and the Curse. It is a Metroidvania, and to me, it is the closest art style that I could pin on it. Um, which the content is definitely different, but just the raw art style is probably the closest to Hollow Knight. That's just what popped
The
out.
backgrounds for sure. The backgrounds and locations feel like Hollow Knight
Yes.
locations. If you just did an asset swap and took out the actual, like, enemies and, your playable character and you put in Hollow Knight, it wouldn't feel too out of place, to be honest.
Yeah.
It's a little brighter, and then other scenes completely different, but a lot of what they showed was, cave-like, gloomy, grim, and so I can see there's been a plenty of, uh roguelite or like Souls-esque, inspired Metroidvania games in more recent times. So it kind of being having that Hollow Knight vibe to the background, but being Metroidvania, I'm like, yeah, okay, this makes sense. If it's going to be difficult, but have better, like, or for me, characters that I would rather see, both main character and enemy types, and not just be dreary, plain bugs, then I'm like, I'm okay with that. I'm willing, and I'm hoping that it is maybe a little more challenging than standard Metroidvania. I'd be okay with that. And some of the movements, some of the um, attack animations, there's like a dragon that spits a bunch of fire, and you kind of in a pattern order, you kind of got to slip through the gaps. I'm like, okay, uh, I I'm interested.
Yeah.
Count me in. I would like to be able to play this. It's probably one of the more interesting things of the show, if not the most interesting thing to me.
Yeah, I think I'm
Yeah.
right there with you. I think that it's one of those things where like I part of me goes another Metroidvania, but another part of me is like, why am I not really sick of Metroidvanias yet? This one looks good. It looks like it won't be too terribly expensive either. So, for a reasonably small price point, can probably jump in and try it. And who knows, maybe it'll be, even more interesting than the face of it, which already looks pretty good. Okay, next up, BlazBlue Entropy Effect X. This is a side-scrolling type of game. I hesitate to say beat 'em up because I guess that's really what it technically is, but it's like a side-scrolling fighter. Um, if there's really much of a difference there, looks pretty nice. BlazBlue's always been pretty, flashy and cool, and they kind of are bringing that over. Uh, looks
I swear you say it just to irk me every time.
Is it Blaze
Uh,
Blue?
I've always heard it as Blaze Blue,
I
but you've always said it as Blaz, so I'm like, okay.
I
I just assume you always do it to trigger me. Hey, I might be wrong, but
I'm gonna
this
figure it
game,
out because yeah, this says Blaze Blayz Blaze Blue. It's
yeah,
Blaze
I mean,
Blue. Okay.
Blaze Blue. I mean, when you look at it, you're like, okay. Uh, it's like the main guy is like, I was like, when you first see him, like, is that supposed to be Soul Bad Guy? Because I feel like it's supposed to be Soul Bad Guy. Uh, and I think I mean, granted, since we're looking at a
Blaze
game
Blue.
here done by, um, being a side scroller and beat 'em up esque, it kind of reminds me of a game called Icy. Um, ICEY, and that one was like I never finished. I played that early on. I have it, but I never got around to finishing it. But that one was a fun one just because it messed with your expectations. It tells you not to do certain things. You like go certain directions. You always go to the right in these games. You go to the left. You find a secret ending, or you die, or something else. It messes around with different paths. And with this one, it's like, okay, this game has a decent art style. You know what to expect from them. You're looking at it. It seems fast paced, but at the same time, there's something about it that's not clicking with me right now. So I'm like, I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm waiting. I want to see more. That's the thing is, I think I just want to see more because it seems really well polished, but I'm waiting for something to hook me. Um, I don't know what that is yet. There's apparently some sort of I saw some sort of like poster marketing. It's supposed to be that with this game with uh, Dead Cells.
Mm-hmm.
So if since it's being marketed alongside Dead Cells, that gives you a little more understanding maybe what kind of game it is. Yeah, I'm very curious about this too, but for some reason it just didn't grab me as much as Nevergrave. Uh,
Yeah.
so I'm just, but it does seem very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Next up, uh, Damon and Baby. So this is like an isometric Damon.
This was a twin stick shooter. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the weird part is just like, wait a minute, like it just kind of came out of nowhere. I'm like, you know what? This kind of seems like a silly fun game. I don't know much else about it. I'm like, but every now and then I like to play a twin stick shooter, and why not? Yeah, I don't know anything about the game though. I don't remember anything about the game. I just saw the twin stick shooting part. I'm like, okay, I'm in.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it's Damon, like Matt Damon, Damon and Baby. Yeah, this one has a kind of an interesting, kind of a little bit of an interesting art style. twin stick shooter, isometric. Looks all right. Yeah. Next up, Fate Trigger. Uh, we've heard about this a couple times. It's an anime hero shooter. Um, Probably going to be too much like Overwatch for me to really get into, but it looks pretty.
It's an anime game. Okay.
And then Octopath Traveler. I can't remember. It's Octopath Traveler O or Zero. Zero, right?
Uh, I thought it was zero.
Because it's
But
a
honestly,
prequel.
I that's the vibe I got from it.
Okay.
So it's one of the things that I haven't played through Octopath Traveler 1, and then I've never touched the series since.
It's a new old Octopath Traveler game. It's a new Octopath Traveler game about the past. So yeah, that one we've heard about a bunch. And so they're talking about it more here. Next up, probably the biggest actual thing of the show, but we've also already heard about it before. Marvel's Tolkien Fighting Souls. This is from Arc System Works. This is a Marvel fighting game. Yeah, I am excited about this or curious about it at least. I feel like it doesn't have very much pomp and circumstance going along with it, or not as much as I would think that it would need to have or should have. So I'm kind of losing a little bit of steam. When this first popped out, I was like, "Oh, dang, this is gonna be great," but now I'm kind of like, we'll see.
I mean, the uh, still not not yet determined when it's coming out. I the art style's fun. They did show a little bit more of uh Ghost Rider, and I wasn't really too keen on his look. He just for some reason reminded me of a Hollow from Bleach,
Yeah,
and I'm not a big Bleach fan. Though I am still very much in for Iron Man's hero aesthetic, the big V on his forehead and his on his chest. So I'm kind of like
just full mech.
I'm also yeah, yeah, it's very much the old, hero stuff, and I'm willing to, get into this game just so I can kick your teeth in. So, yeah.
Okay, okay. You heard it here first, folks.
Alright, guys. Yeah, so and then I guess the big thing that everyone else likes to play except for me, the last game was, Elder Scrolls, DLC. Uh, I what do you're the one who played more of Elder Scrolls than I did. How do you feel about this?
You mean Elden Ring?
Or Elden Ring, I said Elder Scrolls, my bad. Elden Ring. That tells you how much I care. I care about
so
them about equal, okay?
so
Yeah.
so I only knew that because nobody plays Elder Scrolls, at least not the online
Well,
version.
not online.
See, I was gonna make the same.
What?
I was gonna say the same thing about you. I was gonna make that joke that you're our resident Night Rain expert, um, because neither of us have played Night Rain. Elden Ring, Night Rain, The Forsaken Hollows is coming out. Night Rain is like their multiplayer stuff, right? Or their on super online stuff. I don't even know what Night Rain really is. All I know is that kind of got critically panned more or less when it came out because there were problems and stuff. But anyway, so the Forsaken Hollows is coming out. I I really wish I had spent the 120 hours to beat Elden Ring, but then again, you know, well, life being what it is, you can't win them all. So yeah,
I'm
so
happy playing the, Elden Rings or Souls-like games, more than I am actually with their games proper.
I
I just
mean,
prefer something that
Elden
isn't as
Ring.
drab and a little more lore that I don't have to read. I don't need Kojima cutscenes, but I just want a little bit more substance to the main game. So
You don't want to have to buy a that $300 like a companion book that looks amazing, but anyway, yeah, you shouldn't have to do that. Yeah, so Forsaken Hollows is coming out. So enjoy that. The last two little things here. So Sony is putting out a gaming monitor, which was what I was alluding to like 45 minutes ago or almost an hour ago. They're putting out a gaming monitor that has a charging hook for the controller for the Sony, DualSense controller, and that so yeah, so this is interesting to me because it's another brick in the road toward, hey, we are preparing the way for our next console to be basically a PC. We're putting out a monitor, which Sony already makes TVs and stuff, so it's sort of weird, but they're putting out a gaming monitor, which is going to be what, 27 inches, I think. And there's a bunch of other specs and stuff that he might mention a little bit of, but they weren't. I don't think they're all out, so I'm not going to get too excited about it. But this plus the speakers, plus all the games that are coming over to Steam, it just makes me go. I feel like they're telling us that they're making us a Sony PC. Uh, long live the Vio.
They wanna be your one-stop shop. They want you all in on their ecosystem from their headphones, their earbuds, your monitor, and I understand, but at the same time, it's they've already come out with, monitors before, like, gaming specific. This is just a docking station that's, tied I'm waiting for someone to, throw up their, redneck engineering one where they just have an aftermarket, you know, cheap Amazon, the $20, two controller charger, and then just zip tie it to the base of their like computer monitor arm and just zip strip and like boom, two controllers docked. This is twice as good as the Sony one. It's
That's the
uh,
answer.
I well, I mean, I understand, but at the same time, I think it's a simple gimmick that some people would like. I don't think it's necessary.
Yeah, I think the monitor is it's whatever. It's fine. If they can come in at a decent price point and all that stuff, then that'll be cool. It's like this with like this and the speakers might move the needle for me a little bit, all together. Um, it remains to be seen. But I just my main point with all this is you can kind of see what they're doing. The last thing is that they're going to put out a Japanese language only PS5 that will be cheaper. So I think it's going to be 550,000 yen, which is significantly cheaper in terms of dollars. I'm pretty sure. Um, Oh yeah, it's a good one too. So we got so Joe's pulling up some other news that we'll talk about in just a second. But yeah, so I think that this Japanese language only PS5 that's gonna be cheaper. I think it's a good move. They're trying to do what they can. Nintendo kind of showed sort of I don't know if they led the way, but first one I can remember in a long time to put out a Japanese language only system. This stuff is getting very expensive, especially for the Japanese market. Japanese market does tend to be a little bit more isolated and homogenous, and not really care about all the stuff that's going on like everywhere else in the world. So I think it definitely is a good move for the Japanese market because it fits that mindset, at least as far as I can tell. And then the last thing is that PlayStation is reportedly dropping the price of all PS5 models by at least €100 across Europe for Black Friday, because they love Thanksgiving over there. And the standard and pro are dropping by €100, the digital by €150.
Yeah,
So
it's. I mean, once again, we'll see if they discount it along our sides. Last year they had some pretty good sales as well stateside, so we'll see. Uh, Allegedly, it's you know we've already talked about this. They're raising prices across the board. Not going to be surprised. This is part of the reason why if they're looking to be if the Steam machine is going to be more than a console, but a low end PC, a grand is a safe bet.
yeah, exactly.
And it's a safe bet to say that the minimum of a PS6 is going to probably be like uh, their current PS5 Pro standard price wherever you are. So we'll see how prices increase and where we leave off. But I mean, if it's already €800 in it's like that makes sense that the PS6 will be 800 euros. Um, but if those who are still late to the game, or finally can get around to playing on the PlayStation, this best time, but no better time than now, because it's if unless you want to buy used, but if you want to buy new, you might as well take the savings where you can get it.
I do think that we should probably all be calling our congressmen and women and begging them to lobby Gabe Newell to make the Steam machine $900, because I think everything is going to hinge. I mean, maybe not completely, but I think that that is going to be like, I think Sony and Xbox are going to be considering that very carefully whenever they price their consoles. So, yeah, but yeah, I do have to admit, also kind of post notes for this podcast, that I did steal that Thanksgiving joke from Joe Wholesale. He said it before the podcast when we were going over some of this stuff. So just want to give credit where credit is due.
I appreciate it. I was gonna let it slide, but I appreciate that. Good on you. All right then. Well, since we have gone a bit long and we don't want to go too much longer, so we're gonna go ahead and end this now. We'll talk more about what we've been playing and what we've been watching next time around. If you made it to the end, we appreciate it. Thank you, uh, Nick. What are some words of wisdom you have for everyone out there?
Um, if you go to one of these, brony, not that I have, but if you go to one of these like brony conventions or whatever, you need to make sure that you're either an actor or a writer. You can do both, but like you really need to make yourself known as one or the other. And because it gets very confusing, you know, in the sort of consent sort of area if you don't make that known.
All right, fun little anecdote. Um,
Oh no.
So when I first came to Chicago, we were doing some job interviews and stuff. We were staying in a hotel while we were doing it, and we're waiting. Like I had to get something from the front desk, and I'm standing there. The guy in front of me has a some pins, and from some My Little Pony Friendship is Magic pins, and I'm looking at it, and one of them like had one of them with Baltimore, and I'm like, what does, Twilight Sparkle have to do with Baltimore? I just said it. I didn't even talk direct. I just said it out loud, directed at the guy's back. But and then they turned around, looked at, and they were taller than me, so they looked down and they're just like confused. They looked at me for a second, had to register if I was friend or foe, and then when I was like, "Oh, there was a convention out there," but they knew that since I said the name, because my wife introduced me to the whole Friendship with Magic series. At the time, it was
You're
like
an ally.
I think yeah, so they realized I used the name of a character, and I'm not looking at them judgmentally. I was looking at them inquisitively, and they're like, "Yeah, there's a convention out there. So are you here for the Winnie City convention?" And I'm like, "The what?" And apparently, I don't know. I don't think it goes on anymore. But like when we were here, it was the Winnie City Brony convention, or maybe it was just a regular convention with bronies showing up. But I was like, no, not at all. I'm here for an interview. But that's kind of awesome. Unfortunately, we're like leaving like the next day, so like we debate. My spouse and I were debating: do we go ahead and try to hit up this convention before we leave? Like that'd be it'd be fun and wild, but I just really don't want to pay convention prices. But it would be really just a more fun experience. But like, nah, we're bouncing. So yes, that's my brony experience. So pretty tame. Uh, all right. Well, guys, this has been another Dead Pixel, episode 152. Until next time, y'all take it easy.
Bye.